I had the opportunity to be in Minnesota at a healthcare conference, and I was really looking forward to the first speaker because he was one of those gentlemen that had been advertised that had studied people and where they'd lived the longest and what caused longevity. And so I was really looking forward to doing that. You know, when you're young and you're immortal, you don't think about that stuff. When you get to be 65, you start thinking about longevity. So I was really looking forward to listening to him. And so there's a room full of about like this, 300, and we were baby boomers for the most part. If we had hair, it was gray. And he gets up on the stage and he just, you know, he's probably 35. And he's got one of those silky golf shirts that shows off his six-pack. And he doesn't have an ounce of body fat on him. I mean, he's really quite sickening, you know. And he stands up there and he says, I'm really happy to see all you baby boomers because I really want to talk, especially to you men, because we're going to talk about getting from 76, your average age, to 84. We're going to get 8 years for you. You women, 82. We're going to talk about getting you to 90, 8 years. We're going to take a little self-administered quiz. If you do it right, you can not only figure out how much of those 8 years you're going to get, you can probably get pretty close to the age at which you will die. I'm thinking, I don't really want to know that, but in any event, he said, but if you're honest with this quiz, it's going to take about 20 minutes, and you really want to try to answer no, because if you answer no honestly, it'll add about a year, and a yes is going to take away a year. So he starts, and the first question is, do you, during the normal course of a week, regularly consume more than 10 alcoholic beverages, regardless of type of alcohol? And I'm going, 10, let's see. Do you, during the normal course of a week, regularly get less than 6 hours of sleep a night? Well, if I go to bed at midnight, I'm not doing too good on this quiz. And the third one was kind of the coup de grace. Do you, during the normal course of a month, consume bacon more than once? Bacon more than once? Folks, I concluded at the end of 20 minutes, I've been dead for 3 years. I'm an economist by training, and I used to not be embarrassed of that, and you saw, maybe it came out, because the national study came out not too long ago, and somebody tracked us on our accuracy. And we forecast everything from the price of an individual stock to unemployment rate. We forecasted it all. Very quickly, they found 7,000 forecasts in the last 10 years, and our accuracy rate turned out to be, on the national news, 47%. You understand what I just told you? You can flip a coin and beat us by 3 percentage points. We don't know jack, obviously, okay. But you know what? What we found out is, guess what? Nobody does, okay? Similar study was done in 1960. We asked my profession, forecast the economy. We did so, 1960. We asked healthcare professionals, forecast what's going to happen in healthcare. We asked colonels all the way up through generals, forecast wars and rumors of war. And when it was all said and done, the accuracy of all of them, just forecasting their profession, turned out to be no statistical difference than the average human being. Okay? So we updated the study on its 50th anniversary, 2010. And I don't use PowerPoint, so let me explain, those of you that don't, let me explain what this means, okay? This is up, down, weird as hell, okay? What's happened to computer capacity in the last 50 years? What's happened to the sophistication of mathematical algorithms that can... So after 50 years, we're thinking, and when we reran it, the accuracy turned out to be no statistical difference, with the exception of one group. The more famous you are, the accuracy of the forecast went down by a factor of 2. Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is there's a bunch of information out there, and nobody knows the future. One of the things I love about George Patton, lots of things, but one of them I loved the most about him was when he said, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. Because as soon as the bullets start flying, guess what? You're going to change your plans. But he also said this, no good general ever goes into a battle without a plan. So, while we can't predict it, we sure can prepare for it. Because the ones that prepare for it, think about it, are the ones that are the most agile in making the change. And that's what's important. And I would submit to you that agriculture is probably not a whole lot different than war. Because as soon as you think you got it done right, Mother Nature comes up and just shows you who's boss. Okay? In 1960, roughly in early 1960s, the first class I had in science, I can never will forget the teacher telling us at current rates of consumption of gasoline, by 1980, there will be no gasoline. I don't even have my driver's license, and there ain't going to be any gasoline. What's happened to the use of energy? What's happened to the proven known reserves? Come on. This state will lose its premier status as the number one energy producer this year because the last 4 years, the fastest growing energy producing state has been North Dakota. There's like 3 people in North Dakota, okay? 3 very rich people in North Dakota, okay? What's interesting, and some of you are from North Dakota, which means there's nobody there, okay? What's interesting is that Balkan oil reserve that we've known for a long, long time. Folks, if you take it, overlay it over top of Saudi Arabia's, which is the largest proven known pool, it's slightly larger. And petroleum engineers tell me underneath it is another pool 3 times larger. Oh, and did you just see the forecast out? They said that Canada and the United States have now the largest proven known reserve of petroleum in the world, and the estimate is 1 trillion barrels. But could be as high as 6.5 trillion. Isn't it interesting? So just a few weeks ago, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go back and see if the energy companies in the world had prepared for, I'm not expecting them to have forecasted, prepared for that America would be one day energy independent again. And when you pull out their annual reports for the 10 years ago, guess what? Not one single one of them had prepared for it, had a scenario that said we might be energy independent. Wait a minute. During the last 10 years, they invented horizontal drilling, invented parabolic drilling, saw that their smart systems and their robotics took offshore oil platforms, and instead of having 60 people to operate them, it went down from 15, and they could drill in water 3 times deeper. They invented it, never prepared for it, but if you count net energy value, we were energy independent 2 years ago. Let's see, it takes about 17 years on average to get an offshore platform approved to receive liquefied natural gas, because if one of them blows up, it kind of wipes out like 8 cities. Yeah. It takes 17 years to get a permit to build one. They worked for the last 17 years to get a permit to build one off the East Coast and one in the Gulf, except now we don't receive liquefied natural gas. They're having to what? Retrofit them so that we can do what? Send out natural gas. Let's see if they had prepared for it. There's a little valve that works both ways. How many billions do you think they're spending now to do that? I'm not making light of it. I'm just trying to tell you forecasting is difficult, but preparing is not. Okay. Let me tell you the one economic principle that matters the most, and it's happening in the United States, it's happening in Canada, it's happening to our friends in Australia and New Zealand, and it's happening in the world. Thank God. As I told you, I'm 65. I've studied this my whole life, and I guarantee you this is the most phenomenal time that's ever happened in history, not only for agriculture, but for the world, for this reason. The Economist magazine does an interesting thing. They go through and they calculate how many people, how many countries in the world have a gross domestic product, what they produce, of excess of $1 billion. And they found at the end of 2013, there were 195 of them. Those 195 countries produced the highest amount of goods and services ever in recorded history, $70 trillion. It's never been higher. The world has never produced that many things. And the collective net worth at the end of 2013 of our 121 million households in the United States of America is $72 trillion. You understand the 121 million households in the United States of America have a collective net worth larger than the entire output Interesting thing, the Commissioner of Agriculture stood up and told the audience, you remember in 1980 when we said that the number one agriculture producing region of New York was Long Island? And we said everybody wanted to live in Long Island, so they were going to build their mansion. And so all of those great potato fields and all those great poultry operations and all those geese operations and all those great turkey operations were going to be gone, and we were just going to grow houses, and we would just have to get ready in agriculture to face the demise of Long Island. And he said, I'm very happy to report to you that I stand here today 30 years later, 2010, and the number one agricultural producing region of New York is Long Island. No. The potatoes, they produce some, except they're not the ones that they used to much. They're Aztec golds and Inca blues and fingerlings and this thing I've never heard of called white asparagus. And a whole bunch of people decided they could grow some wine. And we have geese now, but it's mostly foie gras. Okay. And the turkeys want to be free range. And what do you think the return to agriculture is 30 years later, higher or lower? It changed and became better. So hang on, okay? We had 3.6 billion people on the planet, okay? Agriculture could not provide 2,500 calories for every man, woman, and child of those 3.6 billion people. Oh, we did in the United States. We did it in Canada. We did it in Australia. We did it in New Zealand. We did it in certain parts of Europe. Yeah, we did that, and we exported a little bit less. But the little bit rest, guess what? It wasn't enough to feed a hungry world. That was just 1970 with 3.6 billion people. And what's happened to the world's population now? It's 7.2 billion. It's doubled. And for the last 10 years, agriculture has produced on average 2,800 calories for every man, woman, and child. No, some of them didn't get it. But we produced it. You did. For 22 years, the number of forest acres in North America has not gone down because it's gone up. We've planted more in the last 22 years than we've cut down. And in the world, for the last 5 years, we've done all of that, and nobody did it except us. That's why this is the best time on the planet to be in agriculture, not just because you're making more damn money than you can count. Because agriculture now has emerged into, it isn't just about calories, it's about smart calories. And it's just about what? It's about habitat and ecology, and it's about anything that you put around it, and who owns that one? Us. And let me tell you, folks, that ain't the same old farm that I grew up on. It's complicated, and it takes a whole bunch of people collaborating and working. Because get what? The technology is blowing our doors off. Okay? Average American household has 69% of their disposable income left after eating, drinking, eating out, owning a home, paid their utilities. What'd they do with it? They drank more. Okay. Some. I call it buying crap. Okay. I don't mean crap in a bad sense, because what one person's crap is another person's what? Treasure. Come on, ladies, you saw the number. Average lady, female in North America 3 years ago owns 17 pairs of shoes. Buys 3 new pair every 6 months. And a few ladies in here are looking at me like, and your point? And my point is my wife will not allow me to go to Lowe's or Home Depot by myself, because when I go in those stores, I go into sub-hypnotic trance. Damn, look at those pliers. They're dipped in rubber. I didn't know I needed those. I don't. But I found out it's far easier to buy a pair than to look for a pair. You done that one? Think I'm going to buy some more pliers in my life? Kind of. Think my wife's going to buy some more shoes? Probably did this morning. What I'm trying to tell you is why it's the most important economic principle. You want a vibrant society and an economy, you have to have a high crap factor. It's what makes markets. Come on, folks. If you're subsistence, what are you doing? What are you spending money on if you're subsistence? Age 7, when we got into our plumbing, what do you think my dad said? It's not a necessity. We got an outhouse. Not making light of it, I'm just trying to tell you. You want a vibrant economy? You got to have a high crap factor. Okay? Why I tell you that is for this reason. It's what drives economies, and that's why it's the golden age of agriculture. That's why it's never been better. Okay? You don't think so? What's going on when you got a high crap factor? Guess what people say? For the first time ever, can I have organic? We didn't measure organic 20 years ago. Now it's 4% of the U.S. food sector and what? Growing, okay? It's actually close to 5% in Canada, okay? When my father's generation came back from World War II, they saw poverty in the European theater of operation, Pacific theater of operation, and they came back and told all of our universities, 603 in Canada and 6,668 here in the United States, and they said, you need to learn to grow 2 blades of grass where one grew before, and by 1970, as I just told you, we could do it here, but we couldn't do it in the world. It was about calories, producing as much as you possibly can. And now, guess what? Yeah, we can do it. And we proved we can do it with the population doubling. And oh, by the way, did I tell you this? While we were doing it on 4% of the arable, or on 4% of the land mass of this planet, guess what? 100 years ago, we could at best count 500,000 deer in the United States. And the last number was 25 million. Huh. How many billions of animals did we feed while we produced 2,800 calories for every man, woman, and child? Agriculture's efficiency essentially gave back to the average American household almost 15% of their disposable income. That's pretty damn good. And you ought to be proud of it because you're right in the middle of it. We didn't do it without you. And I'll tell you this, the revolution in agriculture, folks, that's even bigger than the chemical and the mechanical, they're powerful, is the information revolution. You put them all together, folks, and guess what? Do you really want to sell me more corn, or do you want to sell me smart corn? This information revolution says we own feeding people, that's a given. And we own the weird stuff they want, like organic tofu and organic vodka. And we own ecology, and it'll blow your doors off. Blow your doors off. Do you want to follow this stuff? Or do you want to lead it? You can't predict it, but you can damn sure prepare for it. My God, you're with the largest market share, premier name in agriculture in the world, and you wouldn't be in this room if you weren't damn good. Put those two together and own the information revolution. Prepare for it. Lead it. Thanks for letting me have a part of your evening.